guys, what is going on? Blossom's back, and welcome back to the episode of Overrated or Overpowered. This is part 2 out of possibly 3 or 4. I was looking at the remaining cars that I've not, showcased for this update in this series, and there are not many left. I might need to take a double check, but this might be the second part out of 3, maybe 4. As always, there are 9 cars per episode, so we're now going to be moving on the next set of 9 cars I think are worth talking about and highlighting, for better or for worse, from European New Wave. So, let us begin. The first car that we're putting under the magnifying glass is the Citroen Visa Chrono, and the main reason for this is because I actually recently unpacked this. Actually, this was the catalyst for part 2. It was from because this is this is under the new tag, which is Chariots of the Gods, and I was opening one of those ceramic packs that you get from the events, and I got the Citroen Visa Chrono, and I was like, whoa, this looks pretty cool. It's lightweight, 86 handling, front wheel drive off-road. How good is it? Well, let's get into it. So, the times. Now, as you can see, the main competitor for the Citroen Visa Chrono is going to be the Ford Escort Rally spec. 43 in the Chrono, 44 in the Ford Escort Rally spec front-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive. The Escort gets 81 handling, and the Visa Chrono gets 86. And as you can see, it's a very, very even 50-50 split. The RQ43 Nissan Violet Rally car really just displaying the fact that handling is everything in the off-road meta, because that Violet Rally car is a piece of shit. But anyway, the Visa Chrono in the Escort Rally spec. As you can see, the Visa Chrono wins hairpin, twisty circuit, frozen lake, forest road, all in the snow, hairpin, twisty circuit, rally crosses, and Monaco hairpin in the dirt. Whereas the Escort Rally spec wins G-force, twisty road, and slalom. So honestly, it's really hard to see what wins what. G-force is usually a track set that focuses on handling, but the Visa Chrono loses to the Escort because why? Drivetrain, I guess, is more important on G-force than handling. Is very interesting stuff, but it really is a 50-50 split. That being said, though, once you put in the RQ45 124 A-bar Rally, then the Visa Chrono isn't that useful anymore. At least the Escort Rally spec is still the best car for the slalom, where I guess rear-wheel drive is a bit more important, but only in the sand, because when it comes to slalom snow, the A-bar is better. Off-road, dude, it's really hard to understand sometimes. But yeah, the Chrono, as you can see, it's better in the drags. It has 80 MRA, and as you can see, it's the best car for the 0 to 100 in the dirt, also the best car for the 1 mile in the test bowl. But although it has the best MRA out of the bunch, then the rally car is better on the quarter mile in the snow and the hill climb on the dirt. Then you have the Ibarf 124, which is the best for the 1 mile in the dirt, the test bowl, and the half mile in the drag. It's very tough. If you don't have Top Drive's records, it's going to be almost impossible to know what wins what in the off-road meta. There are so many tracks, so many surfaces, and sometimes things like this, they just don't make any sense, I'm going to be honest with you. But anyway, the Citroen Visa Chrono, I'm going to put it like a little above average. I think it's definitely like better than worse, or it's more good than bad. It's a respectable low to mid RQ Super Air with, a ferocious mid-range of 80 RQ. But then again, it's got no top speed. But at the same time, it's the best car for the 1 mile, because none of the cars in this niche have top speeds anyway. So it's a pretty interesting one. It handles pretty well, and it's off-road, and it's light, but it doesn't win the G-force and slaloms, but it wins like the hairpins and stuff. It's a very interesting, honestly. But yes, as an RQ43, it holds its own, but obviously when you put it up against the 45 RQ Abarth, then this car isn't that useful anymore. Now, moving on to the next car we want to talk about. This was highly requested in the first part. It's the Citroen SM Michelin Bread van. Pretty interesting stuff to show you for this car. So the main thing here is that as a dragster, it's not that good. You put it up against 30 and 31s, it's going to lose to the Americans, because the MRA on the Citroen just isn't that good. It's 73 compared to the Corvette's 80, basically 79.6. It loses to the Barracuda as well, because the Barracuda has a lower 0 to 60. And it's gonna get washed by the Chevrolet Corvette ZR1, I believe from 1969, the C3. It has 81 MRA, and it wins everywhere besides the quarter mile, which is taken by the AC Cobra. Where the Citroen Bread van actually shines is on the super long stuff. Like 1 mile isn't long enough for it to shine. The super long stuff, like 0 to 150, 0 to 170, because you know most of the cars within its competition will DNF, and the test bowl. Obviously it will lose to the Trans Am, the Ghibli, the Bora, the Hemi-Cuda, so I'm not even gonna put it up against that. It's just total domination. Now against French cars, it's not that good as well. Again, it only specializes in the long stuff. Your test bowls, your 0 to 150 to 0 to 170. When it comes to French drags, you kind of want to rely on the Renault Alpine A110 and the Alpine GTA V6. The main argument would be it's 39s against 33s. That's true. If you want a bargain French dragster, then the Citroen Bread van is the way to go, and it will beat everything within its RQ neighborhood of, you know, 34, 33s, 32s. But obviously, if you want to compare it to this French in general, for rares, the best of the best still go to the Renault Alpines. But then again, one interesting thing about the Michelin Bread van is that it's a great bargain for the test bowl, no matter what rarity you're in. So I decided to put the Citroen Bread van against some maxed out ultra rares, and as you can see, it's the best car in the test bowl compared to cars like a fully upgraded Mercedes-Benz AMG C63 because of the limiter, and that's a car of like 89 MRA. And then you have, well, actually it used to have 89 MRA, now it's 79 because it got a nerf. It also beats the BMW 1 Series M Coupe, the RQ64 AC Cobra, which has a ridiculously low 0 to 60, and it beats the Morgans as well, beating the Morgan Aero Super Sport, the Morgan Aero 8, the Morgan Plus 6, and those are cars that do not have limiters. Like the BMW 1 Series, the AMG C63, they all have limiters. They all have a top speed of 155 miles per hour, but the Morgans do not, and the Citroen is able to beat them, which is really freaking funny. That being said though, one thing to remember is that anything the Citroen Bread van can do, the Maserati Bora can do as well, and better. It will get up to 169 miles per hour on the test bowl. That being said, the Maserati Bora is more expensive to use, so the Citroen is, I guess, just that bit more of a bargain. So for the main part, you know, in the category of it's in a category of its own. It's a low RQ dragster, and is it 31 or is it 33? I think it's 33 now, right? I think Top Drive's records listed as a 33, but Top Drive's club listed as a 31. That's interesting. But you know, whether it's 31 or 33, it's a great car for its RQ range. I mean, there's no French car like it. The closest competition within the country is going to be a 39, but obviously in a general sense, the Bread van is going to be quite useless unless you're talking test bowl 0 to 150 to 0 to 170. It's a great bargain, by the way. Like if you want to, let's say it's like speed of light in clubs and there's always a test bowl and you want to save some RQ because you want to use some epics and legendaries, then the Bread van's a pretty good car to use for the test bowl, as long as it's not like up against a Koenigsegg. If it's up against like a lower end epic with not a super high top speed, like not a Bristol for example, then it's going to be a pretty damn good bargain. So I would say it's slightly above average. It's more good than bad. Now let's talk about the third car. Talking about bad, the Skoda Superb Hatchback 2.0. Look, I said at the start that this thing was going to be a piece of trash, and yeah, it's kind of proven me right. As you can see over here, I'm putting it up against the weaker competition of four-wheel drive standard tires. I'm not putting it up against your CT6s and your Hyundai i70s and all that kind of stuff, whatever the Hyundai thing is called. I'm putting it up against Audis, bro. Like I'm putting it up against Audis, an RQ67 BMW, an RQ70 Subaru Legacy. Like you would think that for an RQ78 Skoda, it would be the best car, or at least it will be able to take some races, but it's not even the best in any scenario. It is one of the worst. Actually, it is the worst on the slalom. It is the worst on the G-force, the worst performer out of everything that you see here. Like it loses to the RQ67 BMW. Like that is like a 11 RQ difference, dude. That is sad. It loses to the Audis almost everywhere. It loses to the BMW 530D almost everywhere. It loses to the RQ73 Mercedes-Benz CLA 250, which isn't even a good standard tire car. In car park, in G-force, in slalom, it's a very, very weak showing from the Skoda. Now, the main argument for the Skoda is that it's got like MRA, right? 78 MRA or something like that. Well, you put it up against the drags, and like this is why I think it's stupid to compare four-wheel drive standard tire cars in a drag scenario, because if there's ever going to be wet drags, you're going to be using the Mercedes Maybach. Usually, it's just wet drag. That's all it is to it. There are barely any events, none in clubs, where it says you must use four-wheel drive standard. Usually in clubs, it just says standard. You just use standard. Whether it's rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, it's just standard. And then usually in multiplayer events, it's the same thing. They don't usually bring it down to, oh, it must be four-wheel drive standard. It's just standard. So in that sense, then yeah, I would just use the Mercedes-Benz. It's cheaper, it's an ultra rare, and it beats everything. But for the purists out there, let's say you only want to compare it up against, four-wheel drive standard tire cars, then just compare it directly to the BMW 740D, which is a four-wheel drive saloon, medium ground clearance standard tire car, and it's better everywhere. It beats the Skoda on the quarter mile, the half mile, the 1 mile. What else do you want me to say? The only thing the Skoda has is the test bowl. That's it. I know. It's just absolutely garbage. So yeah, my verdict for the Skoda Superb is that it's completely overrated. It is not superb. In fact, it is quite terrible. One of the worst cars of this update. I would actually cry if I unpack that. I would fuse it away immediately. Skoda Enyaq is next. I know there was an Enyaq in the last episode, but that was an ultra rare. This one's the rare. So how good is it actually? Well, compare it up against, front wheel drive or rear wheel drive, medium ground clearance or high ground clearance standard tire rares. It's the best car for the twisty circuit and the twisty circuit rolling and the twisty road. Now, as you can see, the main things to really take away is the comparison between the Skoda Enyaq Coupe IV80 and the Skoda Enyaq IV80, because these two cars look like they're almost identical, but they're not, because the RQ38, the white Skoda, is better than the blue Skoda in City Street Small and Medium for whatever reason, maybe weight. But yeah, the white Skoda is the one to get. It's better than the blue Skoda. And yes, and compared within its niche of medium or high ground clearance front wheel drive or rear wheel drive standard tire cars, it's the best for twisty circuit and twisty road. Does that mean that the Skoda is the best twisty circuit wet car? No, not at all. I mean, at the end of the day, the best car still goes to the Blossom Choice Mitsubishi Outlander 2.0 turbo diesel. The second place goes to the Mazda MX-5, followed by the Renault Laguna Coupe. By the way, is rear wheel drive, but the only reason why it's not in the previous comparison is because it's low ground clearance, same as the Lotus 7 twin cam. So yeah, the Skoda is the best within its niche, but it's not the best in general. It actually falls behind 1, 2, 3, 4 cars. Now, moving on, the verdict basically is, yeah, it's a competitive mid to high ground clearance standard tire car without four-wheel drive, and yeah, however, it doesn't take the best in city streets. Like within its niche of like medium high ground clearance, not four-wheel drive standard tire cars, the track set that you want to win on the most is going to be city streets, because obviously, like in any other track set, like why would you need a medium ground clearance car, right? Like unless you're forced to use it, you'd rather just use an MX-5, for example, or an Outlander with four-wheel drive. So for its niche, this niche of front wheel drive or rear wheel drive medium ground clearance standards, the ones that you want the most is going to be the one that wins the city. It still goes to the Shadow Edition Mini Cooper. So, the Enyaq, I think is not amazing. Like, I don't think it's Blossom Choice. I've heard some people say it's going to be Blossom Choice. It's like the amazing, blah, blah, blah. I think it's good. It's above average, but like not that much above average, to be honest. That's my opinion, though. Moving on is the Citroen C-Metisse. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. It's a very interesting car. It's like the French version of the Panamericana, which I've placed in this comparison because it's medium ground clearance, it's four-wheel drive, it's kind of weird, it's like a coupe or whatever it is, four-seater, I think it's a saloon. But yeah, it's a dragster. It's got 88 MRA, and that's actually a huge quirk about the car. Out of all the four-wheel drive medium ground clearance ultra rares, it's a really good dragster, to be honest. Like, it beats the Subaru Legacy B4, which has pretty decent MRI, beats the Panamericana, beats the Subarus, beats the Vauxhall and the Mitsubishi, which are way higher in RQ, well, not way higher, 3 RQ higher, in everything half mile and above. Obviously the Mitsubishi Lancer still wins a quarter mile, and it's going to win the city streets mediums and stuff, but it will lose to the Mercedes-Benz R63. So the Citroen C-Metisse, whatever it is, like, its range kind of just goes up to the R63 AMG. Among I thought I had a comparison among French cars. I thought I did. You know what? I think I didn't post the slide. I do apologize. But among French cars, it's good. It's a great French dragster. It's a quirky French car full of niches. Think about it: 2000s, medium ground clearance, four-wheel drive, four-seaters, concept, blah blah blah, hybrid, electric, whatever it is. It's definitely a hybrid. A formidable dragster have been its expertise. So when if you need a French dragster that is like RQ60 and below, the Citroen C-Metisse is the car to go. It will beat the Desire. I don't know why I didn't put the photo. Is it in the next one? Did I put that? Nope, the order's just wrong. Yeah, I do apologize. There was supposed to be a picture of that. But maybe I'll put it up in the screen. If I still have it, I'll put it up in the screen in the edits. But one thing to do take note about the Citroen C-Metisse is that, is it really medium ground clearance? Like, when I was looking at photos online of the car, the first thing that clicked in my head was, wow, this car's actually pretty damn low. Like I don't know, like two things. It's a concept car. So how does Hutch determine that it has 88 MRA for one? And the second one is medium ground clearance, low ground clearance. I don't know, man. You look at that photo I have over here. It looks like it's low ground clearance to me. So I don't know if this is going to stay medium forever. That being said though, as long as it has the MRA, it's going to be a decent French dragster. So I think it's definitely going to be good. It's very useful, has a lot of niches, and is definitely not useless. Now moving on is the Citroen Cactus Adventure. This is gonna be Aventura, whatever it is. It's super freaking light, bro. It's less than 1,002 kilograms. Pretty interesting one though. Compared against four-wheel drive and front-wheel drive off-roaders, it's the best car for slalom and G-force in the dirt. However, if we took away the Citroen Visa and the Lancia Fulvia and only compared against four-wheel drive off-roaders, it's a lot better. Then it becomes the best in hairpin and twisty and all that kind of stuff in airplane slalom. Same thing for, you know, your snows and your sands. It's the best for G-force and twisty and you know, on both surfaces. But if you take away the Citroen Visa and the Lancia Fulvia, then it looks a lot better. Then it's also the best in hairpin and twisty road, blah blah blah, slalom tests, which it didn't win in the previous comparison, at least slalom and hairpin. So one thing to think about the Citroen Cactus Aventura, whatever it is, adventure. But yeah, it's good. It's really lightweight, but you gotta know where you gotta put it. Definitely better than the Baja in most places. The Baja, you know, still is pretty damn strong though. Look in the snow. Mitsubishi Raider Baja beats the Citroen on hairpin road, twisty circuit, frozen lake. So, you know, you gotta know where to put the Citroen Cactus Adventure on. Honestly, I think it's not gonna be Blossom choice. It's good. It's definitely good, like definitely maxed out. It's gonna help you out, but it's just not as convincing of a winner as I thought it would be, because of that super lightweight. The thing is, it doesn't handle as well as the Baja. The Baja still is a very useful car. So the Citroen Cactus did not kill the Baja. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, moving on to what I believe is the fifth or the sixth car is the Caterham Super 7 2000. This one, I mean, I myself included, thought it was going to be an easy Blossom choice, like all the way to the far right of the counter, all the way here, but you'd be surprised it's not. So here's the thing, right? Against like rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, epic standard tire cars, it's the best everywhere besides what you think would be its strongest strength, which is slalom. It actually still loses to the RQ65 Caterham 7 270. So that is one thing to truly consider about. Now, why I say this is because when you compare it up against some of the best cars in the game, some of the best standard tire cars in the game, it doesn't really hold a candle. It's pretty good on the G-force, and it's the best car in the slalom. So yeah, people are gonna be like, oh, the Caterham Super 7 2000 is a specialist. It's gonna be able to beat like the Jaguar I-Pace and the Hyundai Ioniq and the Mercedes-Benz E400 and even a fully upgraded BMW 330d on a slalom. Like, it's gonna be a specialist car. But here's the counter argument: why use the 75 as your slalom specialist when you can use the 65 that's better on the slalom as the specialist? Not only do you save 10 more RQ, you're actually beating the 75 anyway, right? So that's the thing, right? Like, the Caterhams are basically like one-track ponies. They are literally built for slalom. And you know, the old Caterham 7 270 is still the better one on the slalom. So that's one thing to think about. Now, I want to know how good the Caterham Super 7 2000 actually is against four-wheel drive standard tire cars, and I found the threshold. So as you can see, it's better against like the 79 Lincoln MKZ, obviously the Skoda Superb. It also beats things like the BMW 640i, the BMW 740d, the Lincoln Continental, Subaru Legacy as well, which is all very, you know, impressive. But obviously when you put it up against the best of the best four-wheel drives like the I-Pace and the Ioniq and the Mercedes E400, then that's where it begins to lose out. So yeah, man, I mean, overall, I think the Caterham is a really strong car, without a doubt. Like, still the best rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive standard tire car in the game when it comes to twisty stuff, and the drags would always go to the Cadillac 16. However, one thing to really think about is the fact that it loses its, what should be its home turf, its slalom, to its younger brother in the Caterham 7270. So at the end of the day, like you get yourself in a situation, maybe there's like a slalom on every single track set. Would you be using the Super 7 2000? No, because like if it was a standard tire event and there was a slalom every single track set, but only one slalom out of 5 track sets, obviously on the other 5 track sets, you're gonna be wanting to use like your Jaguar I-Pace on like the hairpin, for example, or maybe the Ioniq on the karting circuit, etc., or your BMW 330D. Then you would want your specialist on that slalom, but it wouldn't be the Super 7 2000, it would be the Caterham 7270. So that is one thing to think about. So yes, I'm gonna put it up in Blossom Choice, but not that far down the right as many people would have expected. That's one thing to think about. Next thing is the Caterham 7310R. Everyone thought that this looked really good in that preview pack, I myself included, but it really just is kind of average. I mean, as an RQ60, it holds its own. It's the best car for car park, G-force slalom, fast circuit, and fast circuit rolling. And it kind of shares, the track sets with the RQ60 and Lotus Exige S1. But the moment I put in the RQ61 Lotus 340R, it's no comparison. Like the Lotus 340R is the best car everywhere besides fast circuit. And we all know that the Lotus 340R isn't even the best of the best anymore. We could put in the Zenith, which is also British. We could put in the Maxi Turbo. So yeah, the Caterham 7310R is just good within RQ60. It's not even that good of a dragster. It actually loses to the 59 Caterham 7360 on the quarter mile and the half mile, and it loses on the 1 mile compared to the Di Tommaso Gora, because the Di Tommaso has a way higher top speed. So honestly, the Caterham 7 is a little bit disappointing. I think it's like slightly above average. I still think it's good, but I think a lot of people thought that it was going to be, one of the best, and it really isn't. It's kind of just a good RQ60. So it's not bad, but it definitely isn't as amazing as, a lot of people thought it was going to be. Now, the last car that I want to talk about is going to be the Citroen C3 WRC. 100 handling, 4-wheel drive, and off-road tires. This is pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, it's dominant. It's completely dominant, and this is against like a fully upgraded Hyundai i20, fully upgraded Peugeot 206. The thing is, handling is everything when it comes to the off-road meta. It is incredibly dominant, dirt dominant. The only reason why the Peugeot 206 is the best car for motocross track is because no one has actually put the times of the Citroen C3 WRC on the motocross track, and in the dry, in the twisty at least, it's the same story. The Citroen C3 WRC is completely freaking dominant. So yeah, dude, it's ridiculous. This one is definitely, without a doubt, a Blossom choice. Anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for today. Those are 9 more cars in overrated, or what is it, overpowered. There it is. So anyway, guys, stay tuned for episode 3. Let me know what cars you want to see in the 3rd episode. Some cars I'm definitely going to include would be the ultra rare Raptor, the ultra rare Ranger Raptor, that is, the ultra rare Citroen Visa, and some others as well, and also the best radical in the game and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for today. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm gonna stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax.